Now here's what a progress report looks like. So when you get that progress report, there's going to be two aspects to it. The first is your submission volume, and you'll see a note in there that says add, replace. The add is your initial filing, and if you've got a replace in there, it means that there was an amendment and a change and a retransmission. Okay? Pretty straightforward, gives you those numbers. Here's what Customs is looking at, though. How many rejections or errors are you getting within your submission volume? And they're going to tell you, they're even going to break it down and tell you why. Now, initially, there were a lot of errors for duplicate transactions, and that's because the importing public didn't understand that you couldn't file an ISF twice for the same bill of lading. You'll get a rejection every time in that case. What you do is once you file that BL, if anything's changed, you amend it and retransmit the same one. So that's pretty well understood out there, and we get very few mistakes on that side. Customs has, though, continued to tweak their program. One of the things they've done more recently is they've gotten a little bit better at identifying what they believe is a good or a bad bill of lading number. So we've seen error frequency actually increase on that in the past couple of months because importers weren't they were putting the SCAC code in both the bill of lading as well as the SCAC field. So there were a number of reasons that the bill of lading just wasn't correct, and they were able to tweak their program enough to send a rejection back that it wasn't a good bill of lading number. Not a bad thing. I mean, you get an error on it, but then it makes you go back and figure out what was incorrect with that information transfer. If you send an incorrect tariff code, that's going to be knocked back, et cetera, et cetera. So they give you and tell you what that error is, and that can be helpful in you understanding where you need to maybe tweak your own internal policies and procedures. Second thing they're looking at is timeliness. Again, the regulations state that you must file your ISF 24 hours prior to the lading of the vessel. Now, some of you who've had some experience out there realize that's actually a very difficult measurement for Customs to do accurately themselves. And you're right. They're not going to change the regulation. And we can tell you, we've got a lot of, part of TRG is that we also have TRG Direct, which is a self-filing program. We've got a lot of kind of anecdotal information on actual filings that we know were done on time, but Customs was not matching. And the reason for that is because they don't actually have when someone starts walking up the ramp with goods as a lading time, the way they're measuring it is 24 hours after your shipper or freight forwarder inputs that bill of lading in AMS. So it's not exactly accurate, but the good news is Customs understands that. So what they've asked us to do is to let you know, take a deep breath. You may find your timeliness, you might think that you're filing everything on time, but your report says you're not. Fact is you probably are. The real measurement, the hard measurement, is going to be 24 hours prior to departure, but make no mistake, if you're filing this after the ship sails, it's late, they're going to know it's late, and there's going to be no way around it. So that's really probably the best way to look at this. So timeliness is also measured by your bill of lading matching the carrier's bill of lading in AMS. So if it doesn't, you actually don't have that measurement. So you see two things on this page. First is the measurement based on the bill of ladings that did match, but lower you see there's a number of submissions that are not subject to measurement. And that could be because they were an amendment or a deletion or a rejection, but they're also because you may have unmatched ISFs. And that's called a bill not on file message that you'll get from Customs, and that's something that you're going to want to work on. You want to figure out what the AMS bill of lading is. That's the hard question. Bill of lading, Customs wants the lowest bill of lading. If you're contracting all the way through with your shipper, it's going to be a regular or straight bill. If you're contracting with a freight forwarder, it's going to be a house bill. But at the end of the day, the question you want to ask, if you're not sure, is what's the AMS bill of lading? Because that's going to get you the match. If you know what they're putting in, then you're going to put in the right bill of lading. Now, what are your next steps? And there's a number of things to think about here, because I know we've got people on the line who are filers and people who perhaps have not started filing yet. If you're filing right now, go out and get that report card, review it. If you'd like to talk to us about it and get our thoughts, we're happy to do that. Another thing that's important, the data set gathering is coming in most cases from your vendors and trade partners overseas. So you want to make sure that your vendors are informed and helping you be in compliance. Now, we're going to give you some good news on this side too. Again, we view this as a very close partnership between you, our bond customers, and us, and we are going to be hosting vendor webinars. The next one is next Wednesday, and we're going to have a similar educational webinar so that your vendors and trade partners overseas can understand a little bit more about ISF. Why is it important? Why are they being forced to do it? But more importantly, what we want to do is we want them to start to think about ISF compliance being a competitive advantage for them. If we can teach them how to do this well on your behalf, how to get you this information in a timely and accurate manner, then it's going to help you get it done on this side of the pond. So we're going to be hosting those. You'll see, you'll be able to get your vendors or suppliers to sign up by getting the link off of our website. If you're having trouble with your data set gathering, you're just not getting the attention and the respect that you think you need to get them on this webinar. We'll answer their questions and we'll help them understand how important it is for you. Now, we've actually got some notifications and some ability for you to use some of our letters to put onto your company letterhead and send out to your trade partners, whether they be freight forwarders or importers. And you can find this on the home page ISF tab on TradeRiskGuarantee.com. And this is what they look like. Essentially, you've got a carrier or a freight forwarder notification telling them, look, ISF is here to stay. It's a regulation we have to comply with. Please tell us, you tell us, how you're going to get the information we need to file this effectively and in time. Okay? Now, we can tell you that Customs has been very forthright in talking to the shipping and forwarding community. By now, they understand this. They know what they have to get you, and they know when they have to get it. So you shouldn't be getting a lot of pushback at this point from your carriers or freight forwarders. At any rate, here's a letter you can send. We also have a series of vendor communication, and we kind of tiered it. The first letter is, hey, please pay careful attention to this. You're a valued customer or you're a valued supplier of ours. Here is what we need to perform our duties for regulatory environment in the United States for ISF. Please tell us how you're going to get us these. Please call me back. Second one, a little bit more intense. I sent you a letter. Where's my info? Third one is, I'm jacking it up the line, and we're going to someone in senior management and saying, look, we have to have this. If it costs us $5,000, then perhaps we're going to engage in you sharing in that cost. Now, we can tell you that there are a lot of importers out there who are actually working contractual arrangements with their overseas vendors in regards to ISF. They're saying this is a requirement. You must get us this data. You must get it in time. And if you don't, we get fined. Expect a $5,000 reduction in remittance. Now, that's about as hardcore as I've heard of it out there, but I can tell you it's for sure going on. At the end of the day, there's probably a dozen recipes on how you're going to get the information and the conversations that you're going to have. These are a couple of tools that you can use to get that done. Please feel free to use them to whatever degree it makes sense for you. Now, let's also talk about policies and procedures internally. I can't tell you how many conversations we have. Hey, I'm in import and logistics. Nobody listens to me. Well, guess what? It just got more expensive for them not to listen.